I got a call to do a movie roundtable punch-up recently. It was a movie being made by one of the big streamers. I don't want to say which one, but it's one of those that did not buy a pilot from me in 2025. So it's either Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, or Apple TV. Roundtable punch-ups come up rarely for TV writers. I get one maybe every few years. Every time I get one, I try to make a big impression because your reputation in the room is how you get another one of these. Now, there is a secret to impressing everybody in a roundtable punch-up. The secret is don't do what most of the writers are going to do when they go in there, which is show how smart you are by criticizing the script and telling everything that's wrong with it. They know there's something wrong with it. That's why they're having a punch-up. You will get no points with the director or the writer by telling them how intelligently you can pull the thing apart. The other thing you want to avoid is just giving generalizations about how the script could be better. The way you, quote, win the punch-up roundtable contest is you come in there with specific jokes and make 90% of what you say specific joke pitches within the room. The person who pitches the most jokes that get laughs is the one that they will remember, and that's how you get the next gig. Now, the key to that part of the process is you read the script beforehand and you write jokes in the margins as you're going. So this is the script. I blocked out the title so that I don't get sued by the producers. But just see if you can note here. These are my notes in the margins. You see me writing jokes there. I'm writing jokes here. Every single page as I'm going through typically will have some ideas for comedy, okay? It took me about 5 hours to read and come up with joke material for the script. That's about right for the pace of your prep for a roundtable. Everything leading up to the punch-up process itself seems to be designed to kind of make your adrenaline rise higher and higher. So when you pull into the lot, you know, it feels like you're breaking into Fort Knox as they check 7 different kind of IDs and give you a special passcode. And the coffee shop of the lobby when you go in, there's a wall that's just filled with Emmys from floor to ceiling. And these kind of things just make you feel like the stakes are incredibly high by the time you sit down and actually do the punch-up. What do you do with all this energy? Well, you can be sure that at a certain point, the director is going to say, okay, everybody settle in. We're going to go around the room and people are going to have their opening comments. So for me, this is your first opportunity to make an impression, and you really want to have your opening comments prepared. So I can tell you exactly what I said when they came around the room to me. I first started by praising the script. Now, this is true whether you're talking to a friend who's giving you a script. It's especially true when you're working with a group of people who are very nervous about having their script analyzed and picked apart. I started by saying, here are the things that's really working about it, and here's why it's going to be a great, great movie. Definitely the way to open. Now people at least like me and want to hear what I have to say. Then I said, I have 2 big picture pitches for you. Now, because I'm a ham and I want to be remembered, I did this somewhat theatrically. I said, I have 2 big pitches for you. One is worth $45 million and the other is worth $125 million. Now, it's a bold way to start. It's kind of goofy and funny. It definitely got people's attention. I said the $45 million thought first. Now, without disclosing what this movie is about, try to imagine that the script is a rom-com in which a core plot device has to do with the company that is producing this rom-com. It would be like if AMC Movie Theaters was making a movie and the rom-com centered around the man and the woman having their cute meet because they're both members of the AMC ticket holders club. That plot device, in me telling it, should feel to you very sweaty and kiss-assy of AMC. In this rom-com, they had something similar, that the central plot device seems to be almost an ad for the company that is making and showcasing this film. So it's all through the film. It's super, super cringy. I had to tell them that this needed to be solved. Comedy has a rebel energy. It's us attacking the institutions. It's us pulling down the big guys. If the movie feels like it is made by the big guys and is kissing ass to the big guys, it's death to comedy. Now, never pitch a criticism without a solution. So I laid out the criticism and I said the solution is very simple. Every time you refer to the corporation in the script, gently mock the corporation, okay? The character should be talking about the company every time it's referred to as a company in decline, on a slow glide to zero. Jokes about how bad the company is, mocking it, will feel hip and cool to comedy writers. It's what they used to do on Larry Sanders, the show with Gary Shandling that all comedy writers love. Celebrities would come in there and mock themselves. There's nothing cooler or hipper than mocking yourself on screen. So that was a big problem with an easy solution was my opening pitch. Then I said, do you guys want to hear the $125 million pitch? They said yes. I said, beware, because when I pitch this one, it might make me cry. And this was actually true. I had found when I was doing my notes on the script that I had one pitch that immediately triggered emotion in me. Now, again, without giving too much away about the plot, there's a certain Sleepless in Seattle element to this rom-com. It centers around a guy who is a widower. His wife has died. And we see her last words to him in the movie. What I pitched was that she says to him, look, I get emotional even recalling this. Hey, I'm not going to be around forever. We both know I'm sick. I want you to fall in love again. And just make sure it's with somebody that makes you laugh. That's what you need, someone who makes you laugh. Okay. That pitch to me was emotional and gave us a very interesting plot element. We can now show the man in this movie as a guy who needs to fall in love again, and he never laughs throughout the whole movie until the cute meet with the woman he's supposed to end up with. They have a scene there where they meet at a Cubs game and they're talking about hot dogs. In that scene, I said, give her a little line that makes him laugh. When we see that, then we will know, oh my God, this is the woman he's destined for. That's a $125 million pitch because it ties everything together and it's emotional. After I said that, I said, that's my opening lines. I don't want to talk anymore. I just want to hear the women in this room pitch. It's a rom-com. It's written by a guy. It's directed by a guy. My God, for this thing to work, you had better listen to the women in the room and hear their perspective on this script. That turned out very important. And to the credit of this room, the women were allowed to dominate that discussion. It's part of why this movie will work if it does. Okay, now, the punch-up session itself. Once we'd all done our opening thoughts, we went through the script page by page. That's typically what you do. The roundtable session was 4 hours. After the intro, we spent most of the time going page by page. This is where all of my little jokes in the margins that I had written beforehand served me very well. All I'm doing at this point in the punch-up is two things. One is I'm listening to the other writers, supporting them and laughing at what they say. Okay, that's a little counterintuitive. The energy in the room is competitive. Everybody's trying to impress the director, the writer, and the producers in the room by saying clever things. It's counterintuitive to be supportive of the other writers, but it's essential. Every time somebody pitched something, I would laugh supportively. I found myself saying, that's beautiful when people pitch stuff, okay? Extremely supportive of these strangers that I'd never met. A couple things happen. The room works better when it's supportive that way. That's just my experience of working in TV rooms. But in addition, when it comes time for me to pitch, the fact that I've been supportive of others makes them a little bit more supportive of me, and my jokes go over a little better. So one thing I'm doing is supporting the other people in the room. The other thing that I'm doing is just using my pre-written jokes to pitch concrete comedy ideas, typically as if I'm coming up with them on the spot. It's a little bit of an artificial device, but if you take something that you've written beforehand and pretend to be coming up with it, it makes you seem a little more clever. I did that all day long in this punch-up. I pitched concrete stuff. There were a few things that I pitched which are almost universally applicable to any comedy screenplay that you're going to write. Here's one of them. I found myself saying over and over again, whenever a character is introduced, the boss comes in, the best friend comes in, the jeweler in a little jewelry store that our hero ends up in as he's trying to find the romantic lead. Every time you encounter one of these secondary characters, make a commitment to what the joke of that character is. Okay, if it's the boss who can't stop playing putt-putt golf in every scene he's in. It's just a joke that you commit to for that character. The best friend thinks she's funny, but she's not. It could be anything, but you've got to commit to something as a character joke for that character. And amazingly, it really was not done in the script. They were looking for funny punchlines, but they hadn't committed to funny characters. That was a huge element in this script. Another thing that I found was whenever the director would say, hey, we need something funnier here, 100% of the time I would find the problem was that they had something vague and they needed something specific. So to give an example, the main female character in this story is cynical. She's given up on love, okay? Why? Well, she had a toxic previous relationship that has scarred her for life. Now, there was nothing specific about that toxic relationship. And when the director said, could this be funnier? I said, let's lean into the specifics. So I had a very specific pitch. I said, okay, our female protagonist has been divorced twice from the same guy. She married him, got divorced, remarried him, got divorced again. What happened? He was a gambler, okay? He said, oh, honey, I love you so much, but I need your money to invest in something. He's constantly betting on female rugby. This is the year that the New Zealand lady koalas are gonna take it all. Okay, notice how specifically, divorced twice, specifically to a gambler, specifically what he gambles on, female rugby, specifically the name of the team, the lady koalas, okay? All that got laughs, and it was only because I had translated it from the general to the specific. That's always the key in punch-up, go from general to specific. Another thing that I found was very useful for me in the punch-up process was going with visual gags, okay? There was a gag that I wrote in the margin, and I was like, I know this is gonna get a laugh, and it did. The character of the romantic female lead, she's lonely, she's single, her relationship is largely with her pet dog. Okay, so I pitched something where every night she has dinner with her dog, and she pours a glass of wine for herself, and her dog has a dog dish bowl, which is also shaped like a wine glass. It's sort of like a wide dog bowl with kind of a stem on the bottom. She pours wine in her glass and dog food in her wine glass shaped dog dish. Okay, that visual gag I knew would get a laugh, and it did. Visual gags are always big in punch-up. Now, something funny happened at the last hour of the punch-up, and this often happens. The conversation goes from the plot and the jokes and the characters to what is the theme of this? What are you really saying about life and love? And it got very philosophical. It's a rom-com. Now, I said, look, the rom-com is a genre, which is essentially a fantasy genre. It's the fantasy that two people will meet, and because they're perfect for each other, they will fall in love, and everything will be happily ever after. Now, this is a somewhat naive idea of relationships. My psychiatrist, Dr. Arthur Kovacs of Santa Monica, when talking to me about my divorce, he pointed out that the fantasy of the romantic comedy, it really dates back to the 1800s, the fantasy of marriage. Before the 1800s, marriage was a financial contract where we merge our property by coming together in a church. Somewhere around 1880, the idea of marriage as a sort of spiritual fulfillment comes into play for the first time. It's still with us, and it's what informs the rom-com. Now, what is the actual secret of love? Well, according to my therapy sessions, love and romantic relationships that work are really about a commitment to problem solving in a curious and playful context that you do for the rest of your life. Now, at this point in the roundtable, I'm saying this to all these people. I'm talking about myself in divorce and in therapy. I notice that people are listening. They don't have a lot to contribute. And I suddenly realized, oh my God, I am way more experienced in the disasters of life, love, marriage, divorce, and psychoanalysis than the other people here. And I made my contribution. And in a funny way, I kind of checked out at that point because I thought, why am I contributing to these people's process? Why am I helping this writer with all my great life insights? I should just be out writing my own stuff. And I always have this in every roundtable I'm ever in. I have this feeling of disappointment that I'm contributing stuff that they'll either use or they won't, and the movie will either be good or it won't. And even if it is good, I won't get any credit. And I left in a feeling of sort of mild disappointment. But as I went to my car to get my keys from the valet there on the lot, one of the producers who was in the room came up to me and he gave me his email address. And he said, email me. I liked your energy in the room and I liked your ideas. I wonder if you have any screenplays in your footlocker from way back when that never got made. That's how this movie got made. I'm going to writers I like and ask them to bring out their old stuff and see if we can make it again here in the new studio system. And it just goes to show, there is a payoff to doing your best in any public environment where you're evaluated. I did my homework, I pitched my jokes, I was supportive to other people, I was sincere and vulnerable, and as a result, I impressed somebody of possible importance in the future, and that is really why we do these things. That's the actual goal of the Roundtable Punch-Up.